something interesting going on.
We do. We have our poll of a total of 7 lists. You can pick 2, all featuring things from this new wave. The top 2 lists will be featured in a match on the 20th of December as part of the our X-Wing Holiday Special.
I just love we're calling it that.
Yeah, I thought it would be appropriate.
Hopefully it will be better than the other one.
The actual Holiday Special.
That's a low bar we're setting ourselves to clear there.
Achievable targets, Robin. Achievable targets.
You realise that we've kind of put ourselves in a little bit of a miscentre here by saying about that said specific thing.
We have probably about the same production values as the Holiday Special. So.
Elliot, be fair on yourself, man. I think you've spent about 10 times the amount of money and work on this that the Holiday Special had.
Are we going to have the burn count having to run again here? Moving swiftly on.
Indeed, moving swiftly on. The next ship we've got is the M12L Kimoglia fighter. This is a chunky beast of a ship for Scum. It comes with an exciting new model that I'm going to be honest reminds me of like some kind of heavy duty like sort of Cold War Soviet like fighter bomber type of thing.
Or something maybe a bit like out of Halo, kind of that kind of...
it's really got that kind of like Covenant vibe about it as well.
He called it, he said it was very, give it tail fin, looks quite like a Harrier in a weird way.
It's a chunky old thing.
I'm a fan of the model. Like I was initially underwhelmed when they showed the initial kind of like render, and I was a bit like, that doesn't look great. But now I've seen the model in person, there's something very kind of like present about it, a real kind of like physicality about the model.
It's it looks like something you're not going to ignore.
Yeah, definitely not. I like that.
It's painted in a nice colour scheme that fits in with the rest of the like cartel ships as well. So it's got that kind of like good consistent feel about it. I think you could build a very nice kind of like thematically coloured list
with these
M3s.
coaxes and M3As.
You know, the important parts of X-Wing list building. What colour are your ships painted?
The aesthetics. That's what we're all here for, right?
Model is nice according to the fantasy, but the colour choice is awful.
Oh no! I'm gonna respectfully disagree there.
Though, to be honest, I prefer the Kirex from the Hired Guns expansion in the paint scheme compared to the...
It keeps it inconsistent with the current
I appreciate that they're doing that to keep the consistency there, so, you know.
So,
pilots for this thing.
Starting off with our basic stat line, the Kimoglia comes with 3 attack, 1 agility, 6 hull and 2 shields, so it's quite a beefy thing.
Basically, it's a rearranged B-Wing.
A B-Wing, Y-Wing, same kind of stat line.
It's got the focus, target lock, barrel roll, and reload actions on the bar. So this is our second ship featuring the reload action. So Scum get in on that fun as well. And then on our upgrade bar, we've actually got a decent number of upgrades here. We've got torpedo, missile, salvaged astromech, and illicit. And I'm very pleased to see the salvaged astromech slot on there because
we're running out of them.
Yeah.
Well, now we've lost the ones on the Jump Master.
It's just the Y-Wing, unless you start putting the Havoc title on things.
And that's uniques.
Yeah. So the Kimoglia gives us another salvaged astromech ship, which means that we've got some interesting build options and opportunities there as well, I feel. There's a couple of things that I think are worth mentioning about the ship before we go into the pilots themselves. First of all, the dial, which is not the most forgiving thing in the world, if I'm honest. It's not terrible, but it's
better than some people feared it was going to be.
Yeah. So the preview article for this mentioned the fact that the speed 1 and speed 2 turns on this were red and made no mention of any speed 3 turns, briefly leaving us wondering if we were going to see a dial to compete with the Lambda shuttle.
No, worst dial in the game.
But no, it does have speed 3 turns and they are white.
And interestingly, since it's got a salvaged astromech slot, that also means that it can equip an unhinged astromech to turn those green.
Yes.
So if you want something that's like skids around the board at high speed, the Kimoglia can do that.
It feels like it's got a match of the Defender, and then when you put the unhinged astromech on it, it's getting very close to having one with the twin ion engines.
It's the Lancer that's the thing it really reminds me of.
Yeah.
Like when you put the unhinged on there, that kind of like bank of speed 3 manoeuvres.
Yeah.
Interestingly, there is no speed 4 straight or higher on this, so it does cap out at 3 forwards, but does have a speed 4 K turn. So it's a decent dial. It doesn't turn in kind of like sharp angles.
No,
but I think the dial will do the job. And certainly having a speed 4 K turn gives it a nice kind of like breakaway and turn around.
Yes. Before we move on to the pilots, I suppose, there's one other unique thing about this ship.
There is indeed.
The presence of its bullseye firing arc. A special firing arc that is located directly between the knobs on the front of the base, pointing exactly forwards, and only exactly forwards. If you're shooting at a ship inside that firing arc, they may not spend focus or evade results tokens on their defence.
Yep. So that's quite nice. For those of you curious about the precise width of the bullseye firing arc, it's the width of a range ruler. So a little bit narrower than a movement template.
Yeah.
So it is a real kind of like tight beam.
It's
that
a
you've
very
got in front
narrow,
of you.
very narrow.
So this is something that's going to reward absolute precision flying.
Yeah.
That's something I'm thinking of,
Yeah.
Like if you can get that lined up, stunning. But it's going to take some work to do, as indeed the diagram that we've got up on screen demonstrates.
But what's to say you have a
the
lower
barrel-
pilot skill and something with a tractor beam and you pull it into it?
Oh, absolutely.
The barrel roll will help.
Yeah. Although it's worth noting that against small base ships, it's entirely possible to barrel roll your
Directly over it.
Yeah, from one side to the other. Interestingly, I think this is going to mean that the Kimoglia has a particular edge against large base ships, because getting that bullseye lined up against a large base is going to be
a lot easier.
So much easier. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
you've got a much wider base to aim at, and especially if you're coming at an angle at it,
you're
probably try and
going to
dodge it
catch
from
it.
here.
You're probably going to be able to catch a large base, but small base is going to be tricky. But that's still a new thing, a unique thing to this ship, at least for now, and probably for a while longer.
It's a mechanic I'm hoping we do see spread around a little bit as well, because it's a really intriguing mechanic that really rewards like absolute precision flight.
B-wings.
I would love B-wings.
So starting off our run through the pilots. At pilot skill 3, we've got the Cartel Brute. So that's got the standard stat line, the standard upgrade bar, the standard action bar. Nothing new on here at 22 points. So it's very much in the same points bracket as the B-wing, the Blue Squadron B-wing.
Yeah.
Slightly different upgrade bar, an extra point of pilot skill, but a whole bunch fewer shields. You've got a lot more hull and a lot fewer shields.
Yeah.
So it's a much more critical hit vulnerable ship than the B-wing.
It is. This is one I think we're not going to be. I think the Kimoglia is going to be more about its other pilots more than its generics.
Having said that, I think the 22 point bracket for this is not a bad place for it to sit.
No.
The addition of the bullseye firing arc does give it a little bit of an edge over the generic B-wing as well, which I think it does kind of need.
And a much better dial.
It's a different dial to
it's
the
a
B-wing.
very different dial to the B-wing.
I can certainly see where it's got perks over the B-wing, particularly in terms of that 4K rather than the 2. So next up, we've got the Cartel Executioner.
I'm going to need that, by the way.
Cartel Executioner.
Beautiful name, that isn't it? The Executioner.
This jumps up to pilot skill 5, and comes in at 24 rather than 22 points.
And I believe it gains an EPT.
Indeed. In the process, it gains an elite pilot talent slot. So it's worth noting, where the jump from the new squadron to the row squadron was 3 points for 2 pilot skill and an EPT. The jump up here is 2 points for the exact same benefits. And in fact, ending up with a higher pilot skill into the bargain as well.
Yes.
So an interesting point there. Clearly, I think FFG feel that EPT slot is going to be more valuable on the gunboat than it is on the Kimoglia, and I can see why.
Yeah.
But it's also another pilot skill 5 scum ship with an EPT. We've got so many now pilot skill 5 EPTs, like Star Vipers, M3As, Kiraxes.
Yeah.
It's falling into that vibe.
It's fitting into that mould. And It seems entirely reasonable to me. That's it's a good. It's a good sort of place for that style of ship. Yeah.
Seemed reasonable. Like the point bump to get the EPT slot seems thoroughly worthwhile. I'd take it. Also, as you very rightly pointed out with the Star Wing, like the Star Wing, thanks to it having both a missile and a torpedo slot, this can take long range scanners.
It can take long range scanners.
So good times.
Yeah,
and you can still take Deadeye anyway.
Well, meaning that you don't need Deadeye if you have long range scanners, to be fair. But for the pilot skill 3,
it gives you options though.
For the pilot skill 3, it actually makes it viable as a gunboat.
It also means that you can potentially fly...
As a munitions carrier.
You could do 4 cartel executioners with crackshot and long range scanners.
You could.
So you come into range, you take a focused and target locked shot with crackshot from 4 of them, and just blow something away.
Yes, that's...
And let's not forget, if any of those ships end up in your bullseye arc, they can't spend things defensively either. So
it'd be as good as Duke.
It's going to be potentially
if set up like be as good
very
as
strong,
Duke, really,
very strong.
Not quite sure I persuade myself that I need 4 Kimogillas yet, but that might happen.
Eventually,
yes. So next up, we've got Dalen Oberos. If that name seems familiar to you folks, that's because we've seen Dalen Oberos before. In fact, very, very recently. Dalen Oberos also features in Guns for Hire as a Star Viper pilot.
Note that since he's jumped into a Kimogilla,
he's got better.
He's got better at flying spaceships. He's now pilot skill 7.
Or could you say that he was more known for the M12 and then flying to something else he got worse?
Well, maybe he's just not used to the Star Viper's controls.
Exactly.
It's also worth noting there's a different pilot ability here, and that feeds nicely into a little bit of background lore that FFG have set up, which is the person who is now calling themselves Dalen Oberos may not be the person who was originally calling themselves Dalen Oberos. So, interesting stuff there. The pilot ability is quite nice as well. So you get to keep the elite pilot talent slot. You jump up to 25 points, so it's only a very minor increase over the cartel executioner.
Yeah,
1 point there.
1 point for a pilot ability and
2
points of pilot skill.
And I actually think this is a really strong pilot ability as well. At the start of the combat phase, you may acquire a target lock on an enemy ship inside your bullseye firing arc at range 1 to 3.
Oh, that's very strong. You get that lined up. You can push him up to pilot skill 9. At which point you can then get your target lock for your munitions there and have a focused target lock missile in a bullseye.
Yeah.
And you're going to have the bullseye shot at whatever it is that you're pointing that at.
Or potentially, if you're moving after and they look like they're trying to arc dodge you, can use your barrel roll to get them back in there again.
And still get your target lock. Yeah, that is a nice ability.
It's very nicely action efficient.
And again, strongly rewards your ability to fly it to get that bullseye arc.
I'm actually surprised by how cheap Dalen is. Like that 1 point increase for what to me seems like an incredibly strong pilot ability.
Yeah, I would be happy to pay 26, 27, 28. I think.
I'd certainly pay an extra point more.
Yeah, I would as well. No, I definitely would as well. I think what they're going for there though is they're very much thinking of how difficult it's likely to be to get that bullseye arc.
Because it is that specific trick. If you don't get it, you're paying an extra point for his pilot skill if you never get his ability to work.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, a point for 2 pilot skill is it's what they've costed it at. To be fair, there's a card that says that's how much that's worth.
So
yeah, that one.
I'm a big fan of Dalen. I think there's a real place for him, and I'm really glad that they didn't just keep the existing Star Viper ability. I think the ability he's got in the Star Viper is great for the Star Viper, but this is fantastic and really kind of like emphasises the unique nature of the Kimogilla as well. Yeah.
So it's a good ability. Very strong.
And then last of all, we've got Tarani Kulda, who is coming in at pilot skill 8. They move up to 27 points, so 2 more points than Dalen for just 1 more point of pilot skill. But they do have quite an intriguing pilot ability. After you perform an attack, each enemy ship inside your bullseye firing arc at range 1 to 3 must choose to suffer 1 damage or remove all of its focus and evade tokens. So it's worth noting that that's all ships. All enemy ships inside your bullseye firing arc.
Yep.
If you can manage to laser line precision that down across multiple ships,
that's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, imagine especially if one of them is a Mega Leader. I buy that evade token.
I will point out a discussion that did come up on the FG forums a while back about this, is that it says must remove all its focus and evade tokens.
Yep.
And it's been declared in X-Wing that 0
is an amount.
Is a number.
Yeah,
it is a number. Yes,
you can't force damage onto tokenless opponents, but you can force tokened opponents into a very complicated set of mental gymnastics.
Yeah,
as they try and decide.
Decision.
Is it points or resources better?
Is it which one is worth more to me right now?
So if you don't have an action, like as you bumped, then you don't have to worry about Tyranny. Yeah. But if you did take your action,
if you're reliant on your tokens, if you, for example, are trying to set up an alpha strike with your missiles and have to choose to take the point of damage or give up the missile shot. That's
well, actually no, because it only says remove one of its focus and evade tokens. You can still fire. You can still keep.
But if you're dead eyeing,
yes.
Oh, if you're dead eyeing,
if you're dead eyeing, yes.
But it means that one TIE fighters really hate.
Yes.
A Mega Leader will hate.
But anything like target locks generally, which are rebel ships mostly, won't mind too much.
Won't mind so much, but
they can mitigate it.
It's also worth noting that Tyranny forces some particularly complicated decision making on anything that's got advanced optics or comm relay. Anything that means that you can keep those focus and evade tokens. Do you hang on to that token, or do you take the point of damage, or do you discard the token?
That's going to be a very difficult choice for Poe.
No, if you're Poe with regen, so Poe with R2D2. For example.
They're a Mega Leader.
Yes.
Yeah. So, importantly, pilot skill 8 means you can veteran instincts up to 10. That means that you're then pitching yourself past the pilot skill 9 aces, so it puts you past anything that's not veteran instinct at that point as well. So that puts you past Vader, it puts you past Cynthia Fell, it puts you past Poe Dameron.
I mean, that ability against Fell is a third of your health or your tokens, which is probably all your health.
Yeah. It's savage against Cynthia Fell. So I'm very sold on Tyranny. I think her ability is good, but not as good as Dalen's.
But the ability to reach pilot skill 10 is massive.
And it's also the counterbalance is you have an ability that's really, really good that you're more than likely to get off against an ability that is good if you get it to go off. Yeah. You're more likely to get this one rather than Dalen's. If you see what I mean.
Well, they're both reliant on you having something in your bullseye firing arc. But they are situational in different ways. Yeah.
But they are both interesting pilots at the very least, and there's are going to see some interest. See some. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing both of them on the table at some point.
In terms of upgrades, there are some existing upgrades that come in this pack. You get a copy of Plasma Torpedoes, which is nice. You get a copy of Dead Man's Switch for those times that you want to ensure that your Kimogilla blows up close to your enemy and brings your enemy down with them.
It's also that psychological thing, again, like from the game we had last night. You don't really want to be a range-bound one of that now, because when it blows up, that could mean something else goes down with it.
True,
and there's
that's
also
worth 2 points is a separate debate.
There's also 2 copies. That's right, 2 copies of Saturation Salvo. As FFG have really doubled down on Saturation Salvo this wave.
It's gonna be a nice big card. I sense it.
Someone is going to do something horrific with Saturation Salvo at some point in the future that none of us have seen.
Yeah,
and it's going to turn into a meta-defining card, I'm sure.
Eventually, at some point, maybe next wave. Maybe next wave will come with a pilot who will just clicks with it perfect.
Like wave 18 or 19 will roll around and we'll just be like, oh my god, we can't get enough copies of Saturation Salvo.
Yeah, this is like Deadeye all over again.
Yeah. We've seen it before. It's happened.
Yeah. In addition, though, we've got a bunch of new upgrades, or we've got 4 new upgrades to be more accurate.
Yeah.
First of all, we've got the Enforcer title. So that's a unique title to the Kimoglia fighter. It's a 1-point title. After defending, if the defender is if the attacker is inside your bullseye firing arc, it receives 1 stress token. So you line your arc up right.
Dare.
Absolutely. It's on that same kind of like sort of rebel captive sort of like
a type of thing. Only rather than just working on one ship, it's anything that attacks you, but restricted to the bullseye arc.
Yeah.
So balances slightly differently.
See, this is where I want to troll my opponent and target lock something other than the Enforcer. Have it catch me in my bullseye firing arc. It's like, it doesn't matter what you do, you can't make me remove my target lock, and I'm going to fire at your friend, so I don't suffer this stress. But yeah, there are ways around it.
There are ways around it, but it does. It is going to it's clearly actually there for is to discourage your opponent from shooting at your really quite killable.
Yeah.
Kimoglia.
The Kimogila's got a nice stack of health, but it can still get focused down reasonably quickly.
It's got the same amount of health and defense as a B-wing, and they die.
Yeah.
Part of me is thinking pairing the Enforcer with Dengar's droid. So not only after you defend, you receive that stress, his droid can kick off.
Oh, the pain bot.
Yeah. So you hit me, you get 2 lots of pain coming here, the stress token and the damage possibly. Okay, I might hit myself in the process.
I know, I quite like that. Like that's quite a nice combo.
I might do it for a laugh.
Yeah, it is definitely the you don't want to shoot me thing.
On the topic of crazy astromechs,
yes, we have a new one.
We have a new salvaged astromech, R5TK. R5TK is a 0-point salvaged astromech, and the reason he's 0 points will become very rapidly apparent. You can acquire target locks on friendly ships. You can attack friendly ships.
So that's just
that's scummy as you get at that point.
That feels like one of our dear friends, Adam Wright, putting Dead Man Switch Z95 and go, I will now blow my ships up.
It's a it's a rather spectacular thing. Again, this is one of the ones that we're looking at it and it's like,
or just imagine if you harpoon your own ships and watch that splash damage escalate.
It's looking like a silly, funny thing right now, but much like with Genius and Captain Nim.
Oh yeah,
I don't think this will ever get nicked. Is the point? I don't think they'll ever get nicked.
Well, we didn't think anything would be able to come along and use Genius, and then
it did.
Then it did. So never say never.
So it's a bit nonsense, but I like the idea, and there are a couple of cases where this can be useful.
Yeah.
Specifically, our next upgrade plays immediately into that. Scrambler missiles, folks. Scrambler missiles are new and exciting. Is this another one where you need the card, Elliot?
Yes, I will.
You have one?
Fortunately,
another one.
There's 2 copies of this in this pack. Scrambler missiles are a 3 red dice, range 2 to 3, 2-point missile upgrade. They are an attack target lock. Discard this card to perform the attack, so you don't have to discard the target lock, making it that little bit more accurate. If this attack hits, the defender and each other ship at range 1 receive 1 jam token, then cancel all results. So it doesn't do damage, but it does splash jam tokens around fairly freely.
Which is does rather wonderfully turns off the Alpha Strike.
Yeah.
Stop that. Yeah. None of that. It's gone now.
And it does mean you can fly a ship right into the middle of your opponent's formation, have R5TK equipped on the ship with scrambler missiles, and just be like, cool, I'm going to range find onto my ship. I'm not going to spend anything to modify defense. I guess it's really easy to hit this undefended ship now.
Well,
everyone have jam tokens.
And it's also a psychological thing.
Lovely.
Technically, because of that, you could have a ship at range band 3 of the Kimoglia, which is at range band 1 of something else. So the Kimoglia is at range 4.
Yeah.
So can't get shot back in response.
Can't get shot back in, but I do think the main thing, one of the big things we can see with this is have it something high pilot skill, so that you can fire it into your opponent's Alpha Strike build and get rid of their target locks. Now they can't Alpha Strike.
Can I say it's nice that it is very much an anti-Alpha Strike card, and I just can't wait to go as you go, Max. Stop it.
Fine. No. But obviously, again, as you say, the scramblers also work really well on low pilot skill.
Yeah.
To stop their actions being useful next turn. when they perhaps have already spent their their defensive tokens and are more likely to be hit by it.
I'm intrigued by scramble missiles.
As another one.
I think there's something I'm going to need to experiment with to get a proper feel for how they're going to work. But they are a card that I look at and feel like there is potential there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then last of all, we have 2 copies of Contraband Cybernetics, because that's really what you want your cybernetics to be. The black market knockoff versions.
Yep, that's exactly what you want.
Pay some guy in a back alley to install a new arm for you.
Yeah.
Contraband Cybernetics are a 1-point illicit card. When you become the active ship during the activation phase, you may discard this card and receive 1 stress token. If you do so, until the end of the round, you may perform actions and red manoeuvres even while you are stressed. So that is a little bit of a wall of text. I will also say that this is another one of those quite situational cards. But specifically what it lets you do is it lets you K-turn and then still take an action. You double stress yourself to do so. But there are times when what you really want to do is K-turn your 2 or 3 Kiraxes round behind something
and take the target lock and fire off your missiles. And on the VAC side, it's free.
Yeah.
There's no downsides.
You do end up
double stress.
You do end up double stressed.
But I mean, in terms of on the VAC side, there's no downside. It's a free slot at that point, isn't it?
Yeah.
You do end up double stressed, but for being able to 4K and still fire off your harpoon missiles or your cruise missiles or whatever your missiles you're trying to throw, that is strong.
And if it's that one turn that removes something off the board that opens you up to a green the next turn and be down to 1 again.
Yeah.
It's potentially gets you that vital turn.
You can also have aspiring recruits on another ship to help mitigate the damage as well.
You can, yes.
The one other thing I think it does as well is it makes you much more difficult to predict.
Yeah.
If you've got that on a ship and you desperately need to take that vital K-turn while you're stressed, you can do that.
Yeah.
But that's going to then play into your opponent's thinking and open up the range of manoeuvres that you might do. So they're going to have to second guess your manoeuvring much more strongly.
Imagine the Star Viper day on Oberos with that dial that effectively I'd go, it doesn't matter, I can do any possible manoeuvre, turn it into a sloop, assign that stress, and it's still going to work.
Yeah.
I can do anything. Try and stop me.
So, Contraband Cybernetics, interesting stuff, I think.
It's an interesting card. It has some particular uses in certain builds. So, yeah, I think it's something we're going to see on a certain couple of things. Mostly Kiraxes, probably, but maybe a couple of other places as well.
So, that covers all of the stuff from the Kimoglia pack. A reasonable stack of stuff there, actually. I think there's some interesting...
Quite good value for money in terms of cards.
Yeah. And I'm very interested by the new jam mechanic. I think that's something that is going to add another tactical dimension to the game.
Yes. Yeah, very much.
I think I might have to buy one now.
Have we sold you on it, Dave?
I wasn't originally on it, but now I've taken off a bit more investment. Talking through it, it's like, actually, it's not as bad as I may have first thought.
It's like Max has